Trading for Anthony Richardson in Green Bay is an absolute pipe dream that makes zero sense, and I'm going to tell you exactly why this rumor is nothing more than a major distraction. If you've been scrolling through social media or catching up on the latest NFL headlines, you've likely seen some major outlets floating the idea of the Packers swinging a trade with Indianapolis to acquire the young quarterback. When I first saw this popping up, my immediate reaction was pure disbelief. It's an insane proposition that ignores the current reality of our roster. Before we dive into the cold, hard facts of why this is a complete disaster of an idea, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. Let's be honest, we've heard this noise before. The whispers about Anthony Richardson potentially heading to Green Bay have been floating around since February. It was a topic of conversation throughout free agency because, at the time, our backup quarterback situation was shaky at best. We were looking at guys like Kyle McCord and Desmond Ridder, and frankly, that wasn't giving anyone a warm, fuzzy feeling. The logic back then was simple: you needed a solid insurance policy behind your starter. But things have changed drastically since then. The entire landscape shifted the moment the organization pulled the trigger on signing veteran Tyrod Taylor. With one move, the need for a high-risk, high-reward project quarterback vanished. Tyrod is a proven, reliable professional who knows exactly how to handle the QB2 role. Then you add in the development of guys like Kyle McCord, and you realize the team has shifted its focus to stability rather than gambling on reclamation projects. Some might argue that Matt LaFleur could work his magic on Richardson, similar to what we saw with other quarterbacks in the past, but the front office has clearly decided that a sure thing like Taylor is worth more to this team than chasing a what-if scenario. So, here is the trade proposal that has everyone talking. The Packers get Anthony Richardson, and in exchange, they ship a 2027 fifth-round pick to the Colts. They even want the Colts to eat some of those massive 2026 contract guarantees. When you look at that price tag, you have to wonder if people have lost their minds. Giving up draft capital, even a fifth-rounder, for a guy who hasn't proven he can stay on the field or lead a consistent offense is just bad business. It is, quite frankly, a betrayal of the smart team-building strategy we've seen in Green Bay. To put this into perspective, let's look at some recent history. We have seen quarterbacks with much more experience and higher pedigree moved for peanuts. Look at Mac Jones, a former first-round pick out of New England. When the Patriots sent him to the Jaguars, they only got a sixth-round pick in return. Now, compare the resumes. At the time of that trade, Jones had started way more games, boasted a significantly higher completion percentage, and had accumulated vastly more yardage and touchdowns than Richardson has. If Mac Jones, a guy with actual starting experience, is only worth a late-round flyer, then expecting us to cough up a fifth-round pick for Richardson is absolute insanity. And it's not just the Mac Jones scenario. Look at Justin Fields. The Bears traded him to the Steelers, and again, we are talking about a sixth-round pick. Fields was 25, had started double the number of games compared to Richardson, and had superior production across the board. The math simply does not support the value that is being suggested for a trade to Green Bay. If you can't trust a guy to be your franchise leader, why are you trading away assets to bring him into your building? It's a move that lacks logic, and it's a gamble that this team doesn't need to take. I want to hear from you guys directly on this. Does this move sound like a stroke of genius, or is it a complete waste of assets? Drop a comment below right now. Type A if you would accept this trade, or D if you would immediately decline. I'm curious to see how many of you are actually buying into this hype, because from where I'm sitting, it's a hard pass. But that's not the only thing going on this week. We opened up the floor to get your hottest takes for the 2026 season, and you guys did not hold back. We had a massive response, and some of these predictions are absolute fire. Let's break down the best ones. One fan suggested that this year is going to be either the absolute best or the absolute worst of the Matt LaFleur era. Honestly, I don't even disagree with that sentiment. We've seen the highs, the 13-win seasons, and we've seen the struggles. There is a palpable feeling that something has to give this year. Either the coaching staff finds a new gear and we compete for a championship, or we drift into mediocrity. It's a polarizing take, but it feels incredibly accurate to the current vibe around the franchise. Then we had a take regarding Christian Watson. A viewer claimed that if Watson stays healthy, he's going to be a true WR1, putting up 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. I am all in on this. When you watch the tape from last year, his consistency was night and day compared to previous seasons. He was showing up in the biggest moments, making plays against the Giants, carving up the Bears. He looked like a complete wide receiver. The talent has always been there, but the reliability we saw in short bursts last year gives me a lot of hope. If he gets a full 17 games, he could absolutely hit those numbers. Another interesting take came in about Marshawn Lloyd. The prediction is that he stays healthy for a full season and rushes for over 1,000 yards. Now, this is a spicy one. We know the talent is there, the kid can absolutely fly. The issue has always been durability. He's had to deal with everything from hamstring issues to shoulder problems. It's been a revolving door of injuries. If he can actually stay on the field, he has the natural vision and burst to be a star in this backfield. But the big if is that health factor. It's a bold prediction, but one I'd love to be proven wrong about. One of the more optimistic fans predicted a conference championship appearance. I don't hate that at all. When you look at the roster, the core is strong. If we can get steady play from the offensive line and see some of these rookies take that next step, this team is dangerous. We have playmakers all over the field. If we can keep the key guys upright, a deep playoff run isn't just a dream, it's an expectation. On the flip side, we had some negativity. One fan said, "We're going to suck this year." They argued there was no improvement in the offseason. I have to push back hard on that. We've made legitimate moves on the defensive line and in the secondary. We've addressed depth issues that plagued us last year. While I'm not saying we are guaranteed 14 wins, this roster is significantly better than it was at the end of last season. To say we are going to suck ignores the fact that we have a quarterback entering his prime and a coaching staff that has consistently kept us competitive. We also had someone throw out the head coach will be fired mid-season take. People immediately point to his contract extension as a shield, but look around the league. Extensions happen, but in the NFL, patience is a finite resource. If the team implodes, things happen quickly. However, I think that's an extreme scenario. You don't go from a playoff contender to a mid-season firing unless something cataclysmic happens in the locker room. I just don't see it. Finally, someone brought up the idea of the Packers going undefeated in the division but finishing 9-8 overall. We started crunching the numbers on the schedule, and it's a fascinating thought experiment. If you win all 6 of your division games, you only need to scrape together 3 more wins against a slate that includes the Jets, Falcons, Bucks, and Dolphins to hit that 9-win mark. It's actually a very plausible path. However, I think this team is capable of more than just 3 non-conference wins. The debate over who our best wide receiver is also came up. Some are still holding on to the idea that others on the roster should have been prioritized. Look, I like the depth we have, but when Watson is clicking, he is a different animal. He changes the way defenses have to play us. That, to me, is the definition of a WR1. There is so much to be excited about as we look toward training camp. The noise, the rumors, and the hot takes are all part of what makes being a fan so intense. Just remember, don't let these random trade rumors get under your skin. Stay focused on what this team is actually building. We have a clear direction, we have talent, and we have a window of opportunity that is wide open. Keep the energy high, keep the expectations sharp, and let's see what this team can do. We'll be back tomorrow to break down even more of your comments and dive deeper into the latest updates from around the league. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right here.